the hunter Call of the Wild, because when I first got this game, I actually, like, I was playing for like a couple of hours and then I reset it because I genuinely thought it was broken because I was getting no animals at all. So I wanted to do a just a quick video. Now I'm sort of like I'm a good few kind of days in or whatever, and I've got my first animals to tell you what I was doing wrong, and also tell you what I was doing right to kind of find animals. So the first thing, if you're not finding any animals, the first thing to go and have a look at is come down to this codex here, and go and have a look at your hunting profile. And importantly, look at the, is it the fifth or sixth one down that says animals scared? Because this is what I couldn't get my head around, because I came from loving Red Dead Redemption, riding around on my horse after I completed the game, kind of blowing the shit out of everything that I saw. I thought I would do the same thing here, so I was going into the map and I was kind of running around left, right, and centre, and not actually getting any animals. And when I came into this and I looked at animals scared, this is after resetting it because I didn't think there were any animals in there. The animals scared was like sort of 20 odd thousand animals, and this is with no shots fired and none hit, no nothing. I just basically wasn't seeing any animals at all. So the first thing to bear in mind is if you run around in this game, just like if you run around in the wild, you are not going to see a single animal.
I spotted some tracks
Oh, shut up.
close to where you're at right now.
Yeah, you're not going to see a single animal. So the first thing you need to do is to walk everywhere you go. Particularly when you get to an area that you're going to hunt in, you need to walk, because the animals are going to hear you and they're going to run away before you even know they're there. The other little things to bear in mind, and what I couldn't work out was this what this triangle was. And it looks like down in the HUD, that green triangle, and it feels really stupid to say it now, but I didn't know what it was. I thought it was kind of like a director to show me where the animals were, but this is the wind. So if I spin round now, so the wind is now directly in my face, which means any animals that are behind me, so any animals that are over here, are going to smell me coming. So when I go on a hunt, I need to be kind of walking this way, or at least kind of this way, so that the wind isn't blowing my scent to where the animals are. There's two other things to bear in mind down in the little heads-up display down in the bottom. So the first one, you can see that circle is kind of growing and shrinking as I move, and that's what the animals are seeing. So when I'm kind of down like this, you can see that there's a really thin white line, which means that I'm barely visible to any animals, and that's kind of what you want it to be. But you can go one step further than that, I found. So I've got a little bush here, so if I go and hide in this bush, all of a sudden that line disappears altogether, which means that I could have an animal standing right in front of me and it wouldn't see me. So if you can find a little bush, then hide in the little bush. That's perfect. So the other little thing is the sound. You can see when I'm standing still, there's no sound at all. As soon as I start moving, I start getting a little bit of sound. So, of course, for my first couple of days, I was kind of standing up and I was running around like this. You can see that my sound bar is red. You can see that I'm as bright as the sun to all of the animals. So, obviously, the animals were disappearing before I got anywhere near them. The other thing is I was kind of walking around like this, looking for animals, and occasionally I would sort of spot an animal kind of miles away or whatever, but then by the time I got anywhere near it, I was losing it. So what I started to do, and again, this is probably something that most people knew, but I didn't know this. I would kind of take my binoculars, and I would start trying to spot animals from miles away. By doing this, it kind of enables me to choose where I want to go. So if we go somewhere where I think there might be some animals, so this was somewhere where I was earlier, so it's a bit heavily pink, and I'll explain that in a minute. But if I come down here, then we can have a look at how animal spotting works. And it's really important to spot the animals for two reasons. One, it's going to tell you, it's going to start to explain where the need zones are and where the want zones of those little animals are. And two, it's going to help you to track that animal once you've taken a shot at it, because its tracks are going to glow blue. So going back to those need zones that I mentioned a minute ago, these are really important, because as we spot an animal, and I'm going to try and I'll try and spot an animal. It may be that I don't spot an animal because that's what this game is. But when we spot an animal, we might spot it in what's called a need zone. Okay, so if I sort of show you what a need zone is, so there's one just on this corner. So this is telling me that white-tailed deer kind of come to this zone, come somewhere around it between 12 and 3 every day. And bearing in mind that they might be, it might be around this area. It's not going to be particularly circled on that little water drop just there. It might be kind of anywhere around this. So I could kind of sit here and I could try and stalk that animal from inside this bush like this. So the wind is kind of blowing the scent behind me. I'm kind of not being seen. I'm not being heard, and I can basically sit here and kind of hunt for animals. Time of day makes a difference as well, depending on kind of what you're looking at. But also, really importantly, are these tracks down on the ground. Now, I spent hours kind of following these tracks, which just proved absolutely pointless. 90% of the time, it proved absolutely pointless. But what it can do is it can show us where animals are moving around. So here I've got this one track here, which was from an elk. But then here I've got another track. So if I go and have a look at this one as well, see I've got a moose. So this is kind of telling me that this is a really good area in terms of kind of animals kind of wandering around and travelling through, because I think the animals do kind of travel. I think they do travel the same kind of route. So, we're kind of sitting here in a lake, and I think they might do maybe a circuit around this lake. So I could sit here, I could hole up in one of these bushes here, and just, wait for animals to sort of come near me. And as long as I'm kind of near a need zone, then eventually, animals are going to come to where I am. But the most important thing I found is if you buy a tent, then it eliminates having, because I was running back to these little outposts here and kind of going to sleep and then coming back here, resting to make sure I was here at the right time. But I found that if you can put a tent down, then you can go into your tent like so and rest until the animals come back again. So if I come and I rest, this is going to be the longest sleep in history. There you go. So I've rested until 10:36 the next day. So now I'm at prime time for the animals around these need zones. But again, if you go running around trying to spot them, you're not going to get anything. And it might be that you'll play this game for hours and that you don't spot anything. But that's hunting, and this isn't kind of Call of Duty where we're running around kind of shooting stuff. This is a hunting simulator. So it might be that's the way it goes. You might not spot anything, although that looks like a leg. Or is it a tree? No, it's a tree. Okay, so let's go for a little walk up here and let's try and go and spot our first animal. So again, I'm not running because I want to spot an animal. I don't want the animal to spot me. So every time I kind of see a nice big open space like this, I'm just kind of having a look down it with my binoculars. So I've got a rangefinder at the moment. So this is one of the things that I've unlocked, but your binoculars will do, the same thing. Actually, I think your binoculars will go further. So I'm just kind of walking around. Anytime I see an open space like this, I'm just kind of having a look through it. I'm kind of taking note of where the wind is. So there's no point. So at the moment, the wind's kind of coming across me. There's no point walking into the wind because the animals will have disappeared before kind of we've even spotted them. And I'm just walking around and I'm trying, just trying to spot an animal. If I see some tracks, so that looks like it's a rabbit. Okay, so there's rabbits here somewhere. So this is the sort of place where you might find a rabbit feed zone. So while we're sitting waiting for something to happen, I could just sit in here for a minute. And rabbits are a really good way to sort of rack up cash, because they're not. Well, whilst they're scared, they once they get freaked out, they come back out again really quickly. Okay, so there's an animal call coming in over there. So what I did on my first version of this game as well is that I would run, as soon as I heard that, I would go running towards it. But the problem is, by running towards it, I'm going to just scare that animal away. So again, it's absolutely pointless. So what I could do is I could, get my elk caller that I've bought. I could try and put a call out for the elk, but again, I'm just going to kind of wait here because I know that he's there. And as long as it's a mating call that I'm getting and not a warning call, then he doesn't know that I'm here yet. So I can just sit here and try and encourage him to come over. And again, I'm just kind of looking through the trees because that's the thing. There could be a moose right here, and if it's in the trees, you will not see it. You absolutely won't see it. So this is why you really, really need your binoculars or your rangefinder just to have a look around. So let's come back to see if any of those rabbits have come back out. I can't see anything. Okay, it doesn't look like that elk is going to come over as well. Although sometimes, you could be, you could kind of be blowing your callers or using your deer bleater or whatever. And they only have, they have a maximum range. So if that elk is at sort of 201 yards and I'm kind of blowing my caller and my caller only goes 200 yards, I've got to wait for that elk to come into the range of my caller. Because otherwise it's not going to work. So okay, let's have a little walk around here, see if we can spot anything. No, okay, so we can have a little travel around here. See, the problem is hunting pressure is quite important as well. So you can see that I've already kind of slammed this area quite a lot, which means that the animals are going to kind of steer clear of it a little bit. Or a little bit more than they normally would. Don't be completely put off by hunting pressure, because I shot, earlier on today, I shot sort of 2 or 3 moose here, and a coyote. So don't be kind of overly put off. Okay, again, I'm not kind of running anywhere, because if I run anywhere, the animals are going to see me. So this is not a game. This is not a run and gun. And the thing is, that's kind of what I was used to. I was used to those run and gunning games. I was kind of riding around as Arthur on my horse in Red Dead, shooting everything that moved. But that's not going to work here because you're not going to see anything move. It's just a case of just being really patient. And we will. Oh, there you go. Boom. So there you go. So there's an animal right there. There's a couple of them. See, and you just wouldn't see them. Look at that. Look, even with binoculars, if I'm zoomed out there, even with a rangefinder, you don't see them. Oh, so it looks like a whole herd of elk. Okay, so they're just travelling at the moment. So I'm gonna kind of walk in the direction that they're going in. I'm not going to chase them because the minute I run, they're going to spot me. So I'm just going to walk in the direction that they're going in because they might have been going to a need zone or a feed zone, which is great because I can then add that to my map, and then that's another area that I can go and hunt the elks. So let's just slowly walk around here. And you can see that my vision circle is kind of right upright. So any animals that are looking right at me are going to spot me. But the thing is, those elk were far away and far away enough that I don't think they're even going to kind of be looking at me. What was that? So you don't spot them. Okay, so there's one up there. Okay, and that's good. So that's a mating call. If they knew I was here, that would be a warning call. So it looks to me like all of those elk, we're kind of here and we've seen them walking this way. I think we're going to find a feed zone or something around here. What's this feed zone here? Oh no, that's a moose. So I think we're going to find something around here that those elk are kind of going to. So we're just going to keep just wandering round. See, I don't know exactly where they've gone. I don't want to walk right into them. I'm just going to quietly kind of cut through this way. I don't even know how far they were. So I can use my map here now. And I can come down and I can have a look. It will show me where I've spotted stuff. So, oh, there you go. So that elk that I spotted was just there. See, that's the other thing. You can kind of go running in thinking it was miles away, but it's actually not. It was only 225 meters away. So when you spot something, it's worth going to your map and just dropping a waypoint on the place that you spotted it. And that then gives you something to kind of make your way towards. So you're not just kind of running around blind. Because the one thing that I've found with this game is that you'll kind of be playing it and you'll look at something somewhere or you'll shoot something somewhere and you'll think that you know where you're going because you're like, oh, there you go. So I shot it just by that tree, which was just near that conifer, which was just near those reeds down there. And when you get over there, it looks completely different. So it's worth kind of dropping markers just to sort of give you an indication of where you should be going. Just have another quick look behind me, just make sure nothing's happened behind me. And I'm going to have to start kind of watching my sound a little bit now because I'm starting to get quite close to where they were. So I'm going to keep checking my scope. This is going to be a bit of a tough one because like those trees, those trees are kind of like 50 odd meters away. The elk that we saw was 150 meters away. So it's not going to put a huge distance between us and those elk if they are sort of at a need zone or a feed zone there. So I've got to be quite careful now that I don't go and sort of freak them out. So there's an elk sort of just there, just behind those trees somewhere. But again, I'm gonna kind of stick with what I was doing, which was following these elk, because I do think that there's some scope to have a look around this little pond. And see, that's the thing. You can end up kind of chasing your tail. You're kind of looking for one animal. You're kind of following some tracks. Then all of a sudden you hear kind of a mating call, and you start looking for another animal. So that's where we were. Oh, sorry, that's where the elk was, just there. So I'm guessing they've kind of walked up there to where those mating calls are coming from. So again, I'm just kind of checking my scope just to check that they're not just kind of standing staring at me thinking, what a twat. Okay, so a couple of things come from this. So one, I've got kind of like an elk travelling route now. So if I go round here, this is where the elk were, just on the other side of this pond. So what you could do now is, I hope the water's going to be shallow enough for me to get through. Oh yeah, I can just go around. I hope. What we could do is we could kind of set up shop here and we could kind of go into a bush where the elk can't really see us, and kind of wait and see if they come back, or wait and see if they're doing circuits, or we could kind of follow that mating call. But I've followed calls before, and they're, sometimes if they come in, you can zoom right in, you can actually see the animal, and that's obviously really handy, but you kind of end up chasing your tail if you're just following, mating calls or warning calls or whatever. You can be going all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to head back to this river. So what's there? There's a need zone, because there's a need zone for moose there. So I'm back to that river. And again, I'm kind of not running because I don't know what's on the other side of these bushes. So we might get really lucky and we might kind of sneak through here and there might be a moose right there. But if I go kind of thundering through the bushes, then that moose is going to be gone before we get to the other side. So all the time when I'm going, the minute I see a gap, I'm kind of having a little look through just to make sure that there's nothing on the other side. So you have a quick look through there. but it's definitely a patience game, 100%. And I'm just searching everywhere, just having because it would be crazy not to, because you know I'm standing in this open spot, and it would be mad not to take advantage of that, just having a look around. There's a rock animal, twat. Oh, and don't shoot the birds. I spent ages going around shooting birds. And they fall out of the sky and then you can't find them, and it's really stupid. But what I didn't realise, and this is a really good moneymaker. So, you know, when you're first starting out in the game, obviously you can see I've got a rangefinder now, which makes it really, really easy, because if you use your rifle and gun sort of zeroing perk, it helps you to obviously get your bullets right on target. But trying to find out how far away something is when you're new to the game is obviously really difficult. It's a difficult thing to try and... Oh, there you go, there's a moose. Oh, there you go, and there's a drinking zone, right, so that's awesome. So if I go and have a look at my map now, I can have a look at where I spotted the moose. So there's where I spotted the moose. So that's a drinking zone between 9:30 and 1:30, and that's awesome, because that's just another place where I can find moose. And quite often you'll see that even though it's a moose drinking zone, it'll be another animal drinking zone as well. So you can have like a really good look around, because you know quite often you will find a couple of different types of animals. But what I don't want to do, so this moose is 350 meters away. So what I don't want to do is now go piling in to try and go and shoot it, because what I do... Oh look, there's some more moose. Moose or mooses? And there's something running around in the background there as well. Oh, there's loads of mooses. Right, so I'm going to be a bit careful with those ones, because these ones are a little bit closer. So I'm going to come behind this bush, and I don't know if this makes a difference. In the real world it would, but I don't know if the devs would have thought about this when they were kind of putting this game together. Like, can them, you know, do the... okay, so we got a warning call. So my question was going to be, can the moose see us behind the bush? And he obviously can, because we just got a warning call. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spot one of these mooses. I want the boy moose, and I'm just going to keep an eye on him as I'm kind of sneaking. Oh, what are you looking at? Carry on eating, nothing to see here. Okay, right, so I'm just going to keep an eye on this one, because I don't want him to get freaked out, and if I see him start to get freaked out, then I can stop. Okay, so he is 129 meters away. So if I grab my rifle... so I've got zeroing down at the bottom. You can see with the HUD. So if I use my my right shoulder button, I can change that. So if I put that to 150. Now the other thing that I tried to do with all of these is I would try and go for headshots. But the problem is the brain on these animals is so small. The chances that you're going to take him down with a headshot are really, really slim. So instead, I started focusing just between the legs, just here. Boom, and he's down. So I started focusing just between the legs, and I'll show you why in a minute. It's because that's where all the vital organs are. And it's much easier, I'll show you, to hit the vital organs than it is to hit the... Oh, that other moose is still there. Oh, that's a dad moose as well. Right, let's try and... Joe, we'll try and get this one while he's there. So I'm going to use my scope just to find out how far away he is. So he is 253 yards away. So he's quite a lot further. So I'm going to put my zeroing to 300. Okay, so he's injured, but not running. Oh, what I should have done, I should have spotted him first, because that's going to be quite hard to find exactly where that spot is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop I'm going to drop this just here, place a waypoint. Yeah, that's kind of roughly maybe where he was. So then I'm going to go collect this moose. I'm not going to worry about walking because I've fired off 2 gunshots from a big gun, so any animals that were there are going to be scared off for a little while anyway. But you see, if I'd spotted that animal, then I wouldn't have to go chasing him through the sorry, I wouldn't have to go trying to chase his footprints. I would just be able to see exactly where he was. So let me show you what I mean about choosing where to try and hit these animals. And then you'll kind of see why you go for a body shot rather than a headshot. So you can see from this little skeletal diagram, look how tiny his brain is. So you think that head is kind of a big place to shoot, but chances are if you try and go for the head, you're going to get a flesh wound. And this is what I was getting over and over again. I was thinking, wow, this is awesome. I've shot him right in the face. He is one dead elk or moose or whatever. But then you run over and you get a flesh wound, and it says he's bleeding like 75 to 100%. And you'll chase him for hours. You'll follow his footprints for hours, and he will never die. And then you'll shoot him again, and you'll get it right next time, and you'll see there are 2 shots in him. But look at the size of like that right lung and the heart. That was actually a really good shot. But look at the lung. See, even if I hadn't have got the heart and dropped him where he was standing, that lung shot, he would have died really, really quickly after that lung shot. So I might have had to follow him, like a couple of 100 meters up into the brush or whatever, but he still would have died. What's that warning call that's coming in? Oh, stupid rabbit. Okay, so let's just go have a look at this one. See what I mean, though, about how the terrain is kind of changing? Like, visually, I wouldn't have put that moose there. So it's almost like an optical illusion, so it's always worth kind of spotting your animals so that you know where you're going to drop your markers when you go to try and collect them. So let's go and have a look at this, see if we did any damage to this mouse. No, okay, so this one, I've got blood trails, no organs have been hit. You can see it's 75 to 100%. I can guarantee you, unless that's a small animal, that's going to stay at 75 to 100%. So unfortunately, that one is a miss. But he will be back. That moose will be back. So what we could do now, if we wanted to, so we know that this is quite a good kind of hunting zone, because it's a drinking zone for moose, and there were quite a few. They were kind of herding here. So what I could do is I could come and hide in this little bush over here, where they can't see me, and then just kind of sit and wait for them to come back. And once you're in, you can see, like, if I'm here, that's brilliant. I'm invisible, but so are they. So you can kind of move around until you get like a good view with no branches. There you go. So that would be perfect. So I would stay just there so they can't see me, but I've got a really clear view. So that moose that we just took, if he comes in from my right, then he's going to run away quite quickly because of where my wind cone is. But if he comes directly on from head on, he could come and he could stand directly in front of us. And chances are he's not going to see that we're there. So that would be a really good hiding place if we wanted to sort of stop and get that moose. So let's just have another look just to make sure nothing's coming behind us. So I suppose about the thing about this game, it's about kind of not getting overexcited. Oh, look, there you go, little rabbits down there. See, I'm not going to go for them, but I'm still going to spot. No, I can't spot them. They're too far away. Damn. I was going to say I would still spot them because that might then give me a rabbit feeding zone. And rabbits are a great way to kind of rack up cash. But I don't know if I mentioned this. So what I did find when I was trying to rack up cash and rifle score and XP is I found a flock of mallards. And the mallards are brilliant. If you've got that air rifle, I think the 40 caliber air rifle or what it is, you can literally stand on the bank, and I stood on the bank. It's like not very sporting. It was like a bit of a mallard slaughter, but I stood on the bank just clocking mallards and just popping them off one by one. And because the air rifle is so quiet, all the other mallards just sat there. And I didn't realise that you could shoot them because they were kind of like out in the middle of the water, which we can't go to. But what happens is when you shoot them, they float towards you. So you can go find yourself, when you hear a quack, where those mallards are, and start popping them off with an air rifle. And you don't get a huge amount of money for them. You're only going to get like sort of maybe 250 to 350, depending on the sort of mallard that you get. It's worth doing if you get like 10 of them at a time, because you're going to get like 2,500 in cash. So it is worth doing. Oh, what we got over here, a deer. So do you see as well, I go, oh, there's another one. So you see how I go really slowly, and they're going to come across me. So I'm just going to go hide in this bush. I'm going to come out through the leaves, through the foliage, just so I can get a nice view. But look at that. See, that one that's running through the trees, you would never have spotted that in a million years. Look at that. So apart from he's radioactive and he's glowing blue, where is he now? If you're walking around, you would never, ever have spotted that. So it looks like they're just travelling to a feeding point. Oh, if you stop, you're getting popped. Boom. So it's really worth just taking your time. Where's she gone? Should we have a go at her? No, we're going to let her go. She's got kids to feed. Right. Oh, God damn it. Now I've got to work out how to get across this lake. See, this is the other problem. Oh, okay, wait, there's a little space there. And I am running. Why am I running? Because I've just fired a massive gun. So it doesn't really make a huge lot of difference. The animals are going to be scared anyway, so if they're scared, I might as well just go pick up my harvest and job done. And then I'll start sneaking around again. But I'll use the point that I'll use the fact that there's a bit of hunting pressure on this map now in this area. It's now gone, it's going to start to go pink over there. So there's already a little bit of hunting pressure. So it doesn't really matter that I'm running around. That said, there's actually no reason to run here. Is that a... Yeah, right, okay, so there's actually no reason to run here. I was running because I got excited because I clocked a deer and I wanted to show it to whoever happens to watch this video. What was that? Oh, there's Mum. Oh, right, so she may well come back. Look. I'm going to try and get this one as well. See, I've got to be quite careful because I'm kind of out in the open. Try and get to this bush here before he gets round those reeds so that he doesn't see me. Where's he gone? Where's he gone? Oh, I dropped him. Wow, I thought he ran away. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm still having a look because that was quite a long way away. So I can still have a look down here, even though I've kind of done some damage on the map because I've fired off, a couple of shots. I'm still kind of having a look around here. Because look, she's still there. Wow, she's brave. What is she? 228, 220. Okay, so I might just stay here for a while because, you know, there is a bit of traffic. There's obviously, you know, there's a few of these coming through, and she may well come back. So now I can, you know, I've got to kind of make the decision. Do I go running after those? She's just behind there. See, do you know what I mean though? So there's a deer behind that tree, and you'd never see that unless you were spotting. You'd never see that. That's awesome though. What do I do? Okay, I'm going to kind of make my way down to these two that I've shot, and then maybe just go hole up in that bush there. So again, I'm not going to run because there might just be some other stuff that heard the gunshot and thought it was an ice cream truck, and they're going to come running out for ice cream. So I don't know where that girl, I don't know where the female deer went, but that's okay. 2 male deers, that's quite awesome. Oh, I really want to run and go pick them up. I'm just going to have a check over here because this is kind of where those moose were, and I'll just check that those moose haven't come back as well. Because often you kind of walk and you could be missing a trick behind you. So there you go, guys. I'm gonna run and go get this deer because I'm going to end this video anyway. So there you go. So that's kind of how I got started, and how the game started to make sense to me when I started to play it like I was playing it. You know, if I was kind of out hunting, because I do a bit of shooting, I do a little bit of hunting. So I started playing it like, you know, like that. And you can see there again, not going for the glory shot, not going for the headshot. It's just taken the right lung and it kind of dropped him where he stood. And that was a really, you know, that's a good bit of cash, 655. I'll get a bit of XP for that. This is another male, another silver, 665. I feel, that's bad. It broke his neck. I feel a bit bad. Why do you feel bad when that happens? Because that feels like deer abuse. I feel bad now. Not so bad that I'm not going to try and go shoot the rest of his family. But there you go, guys. So that's kind of how I got started on this game. So it's all about creeping, sneaking, spotting, and just being really, really patient. But it's such a great game. It's awesome. So I mean, and like, there's a trail here now. I've seen 3 deer come through here, 2 of which I've popped off. So I'm going to sit right here, where nothing can see me, but I can see everything coming, and we'll wait and we'll see what else we get. So happy hunting.